Hey YouTubers, going to make a short film about my Lionel 1882 General and some problems I found with it. It runs pretty good on my track, but I have noticed some traction problems. Not that it has a weak motor, it has plenty of torque, but it will just occasionally spin the wheels. And of course, first thing I thought, well, the track is dirty, there's oil on the drivers, and I cleaned the drivers all up and cleaned the track all up, and it was still spinning some. So I had a long time ago purchased a traction tire for a General, and I thought, well, maybe I'll need it someday. And I saw it on eBay, and it was, I don't know, a couple bucks. And so it's set with this General for years, and finally put it on last week, and it worked. It works quite well. When you install a traction tire, now you know why this towel is out here. I'm going to tip this over. You always want to put it on the geared side. So the traction tire is on this wheel over here on the geared side of the locomotive. And the only negative thing I noticed is that the cow catcher looks like it wiggles and waggles a little bit, and that's because it's not level on 4 points anymore, otherwise the 4 drivers. And the other thing was, a friend of mine said, why don't you bring your General over to my layout, and I want to see how it looks, if it'll clear his bridges and his tunnels. And we had a problem with this General. I did clear his bridges and his tunnels so he could buy a General. However, it was derailing on his switches. I have no switches on my layout. And I'm going to pull a pencil out for a pointer, if I can find it. There it is. And he had some of these magnets which were 1 inch by 1 inch by 1/8, and he put one in here, and it worked almost like magnet traction. It gave the front driver, I should have mentioned it was the front driver that was not driver, the front wheels that were derailing. And he put one of these magnets in there, and he says, oh, let's try 2. He put 2 in, and it went over every one of his switches without a problem, never derailed, and it added, of course, extra weight to the front of the train. And there's really no weight on these drivers, so they can derail. It's never derailed on my layout, simply because I don't have switches and I don't speed. And but that was interesting, and I thought about my friend on YouTube, Richard's Trains and More, and how his Generals kept derailing, and I believe it was from the front wheels. So I thought I'd share this information. And I've got the eBay page open now to tell you that these come in lots. They come in round magnets and block magnets. And I bought a lot of, once again, 1 by 1 by 1/8. And then it says the letter N is in Nora 50, and the seller is perfect deal. U.S. dash, no, underline U.S. in small letters. So it was the perfect deal. Makes this run quite nicely. And I'll just pull this off the rag. I have to reach around the corner because I'm on a three-legged tripod, which makes it kind of difficult for me to reach around and set this train up in front of you. So I'm gonna put it up on your left side. And I'm gonna push this back. Well, I guess I don't really have to do that. I could just simply turn on the transformer. There she goes. But what I want to show you is what happens when you put those magnets on the front. Look how this front carriage, these front wheels want to stick to the track. And I haven't noticed any, you may only want to use one magnet, but I really haven't noticed any loss of power by the magnets trying to hold on to the track. Okay, got it forward now. I like to, now you see how this is a little bit wonky, and that's because of that traction tire on the other side. I wish that traction tire were a little thinner. I may remove it and put some Gorilla Tape on there. But at least I solve the problem. I know how to solve the problem with the traction. And we'll just watch it go around the track so you guys can see that it's working. Didn't get pushed over quite enough. That's going to want to reverse. There she goes. She's running fine and fast. So a little information about Generals that I didn't know, and hopefully it'll help my friend Richard from Richard Trains and More from YouTube, and help anybody else out with a General. These aren't known for being great pullers, and I would say a lot of it has to do because they're light, and the Marks Crooks are even worse. They're so terribly light. You really have to have a traction tire on them. So I may be experimenting with Gorilla Tape and making a thinner traction tire and removing the other tire from this model. But I consider this a success because it pulls the heavy cars now without just sitting there with the wheels spinning, and it goes over my friend's switches. So, which I don't really have to, I could remove those two magnets. It wouldn't make any difference on my track, but on my layout, I should say. But anyway, I like to share information. I hope somebody's learned something, and say bye-bye to the 1882. I should mention this was made in 1960, so it does not have magnet traction because they made them real cheap in 1960. They were making trains. Lionel was making trains with magnet traction. They just didn't happen to make this model with magnet traction. Okay, bye-bye.